That's all right.
All right, and welcome to the stream, guys. We are going to be having Wham versus the Dawn Squad today. Joining me today,
Oh, not
Wham.
Wham.
Wait,
Wham is my
oh,
platoon.
I messed it
Wham
up.
is my platoon.
I screwed it up already, guys.
Restart. All right. We got the Don Squad versus the Obsessive Gamer Force. I believe that's what that stands for,
Yes.
OGF. But yeah, guys, welcome to the stream. About 8 minutes off from the start of the game, the squads were, or the platoons rather, were having some issues with PSN chat. That's been going on all morning or all night, depending on where you are. This is a European duel right here. Me and Fiji are going across the pond for this one. We're going to be covering a match in the European bracket, so it's definitely exciting to see these teams faced off, teams that we probably won't get a chance to play. So it gives us a great opportunity to take a look at them. And as I was saying a little bit before, the teams were having a bit of a trouble loading into the game. PlayStation's been down for most of the day. Not completely down, but the party chat's been broken, the friend system has been broken, and it's just been an unenjoyable experience on PlayStation the past few days. So I don't know about you, Fiji. That's been my experience. I don't know how good or bad it's been for
I
you, though.
have not personally run into a lot of issues, but I know setting it up today, the party chats, it was an absolute disaster. So we're giving the teams a little bit extra time to set up their party chats, and we're going to be rolling in the actual game, and it should be around 6 minutes unless we hear something different from the teams.
Yes, correct. So, like I said earlier, these are a few British teams, and my team, Wham, and Fiji's team is Triple V, Veni Vidi Vici. Say that 5 times fast without fucking it up. Excuse my language there. Um, it's an interesting matchup to say the least because we have no idea what to expect from these teams, and I assume that there are probably a few different strategies today that we're going to see in the gameplay that maybe me and Fiji are not um, used to, in a sense. Do you think that's going to happen at all?
It'll definitely be in for a treat here. It'll be a. We did see this map played yesterday, so it'll be interesting to see if people's tactics change up between European teams and North American teams. So I'm pretty excited for the possibility of a close match today.
One thing that I have noticed from all the matches in Tier 1 that I've seen thus far, and this is a universal thing from the North American matches to the African matches to the um, European matches, is that the team that typically has spawned on the British side has completely and utterly trampled the team that spawns on the German side. The Murder Mafia Triple V game went that way. The match that we were watching last night, DFE versus RAG or RUG. I forget the clan tag specifically, but that match went in the British's favor well as well. So I don't know if that's just a strange coincidence or if the British side has become the stronger side to spawn on. But well, I'm very very interested. I think that's a good storyline going into this game is to see if that trend continues or if that trend is going to reverse itself in this game.
Very much so. Both of the games that I watched, as you touched on it earlier, the British side did end up winning. It might be just because of the specific teams that were playing, they might have had a little bit of an edge, but it definitely comes down to who captures the C objective first, because that is huge. It just paves the way for the rest of the game because you are in much more defensive positions if you're holding both of the apartment buildings in C.
Yeah, the C point on Amiens really is probably one of the most difficult points to take in any Frontlines map because both teams spawning in on opposite sides and they each get a bridge and two corner buildings, and it basically becomes a game of defensive line. You know, who's going to be able to go into those other buildings and rid the other team out. And as we've said multiple times so far, it has been that British side. And it is the hardest point to take in the entire game because if you go over back to the B and the D point, it gives you a little bit more, I guess, of a full point, multiple points to attack from, whereas the C point is very one-lined, standoffish against another, and that's the same way with the D point over here. Excuse me, the D point and the B point are very, very similar in the sense that you have multiple points of attack, and it becomes a bit of a more wide-open point where you're going to see a lot more flanks than usual. You're also going to see a little bit more aggressive tank play than on the C point. So the C point is one of the hardest points to take just because of that stubbornness in the defensive lines.
Yeah, so it'd be very interesting. The tank play is not as important, or it doesn't have as much of an impact on the C flags. So as soon as you get to the D and B flags, the tankers have a lot more impact. So that'll be interesting to see who has the better positioning in the tanks, because tanks are very important when it comes to Frontlines because of how long the respawn time is and how much attention it can take away from the other team.
So we're about 2 minutes and 50 seconds away from start time, or at least the start time that we've been told. The Dawn squad only having 12 members on their side right now, and in OGF having almost a complete team. I'm sure some of the... Well, actually, there is an OGF on the Dawn squad side as well, so it's even less players than I thought. Dawn has about 11 players right now, having some trouble getting the rest of their squad. Already mentioned the PlayStation Network troubles that were going on earlier in the day, and I'm sure that is still affecting them. I assume that if it's this unbalanced, we might get a server restart, but if a couple of the Dawn squad join in within the next 2 minutes, I think we'll see a go at 30.
Yeah, it looks like they're trickling in slowly here. It's 13 and 15, so we're just missing a handful of players here. It might end up going to a server restart if everyone's not set at 30. I'll have to have some open communication on that. But I'm looking forward to all the teams joining in, and we'll get the ball rolling here.
So Fiji, if you were a betting man, obviously we don't know much about these European teams, and maybe some of the fans in the chat can give us a little bit of a hint here. Who would you bet on to take this match here? Just strictly off of pure luck.
Strictly off of pure luck. I think I'll go with the British side just because of the trend that we're seeing with who's winning on the side of the map. It just looks like the British side seems to have a slight advantage on this map, so I'll definitely go with the British side, which is the Dawn squad.
Yeah, I'll take Dawn squad. Well, especially if they get a few more players. I'll go on that trend with you as well. The British side would take it, but as I've said already, this is going to be a very interesting match for me and Fiji to watch because we are part of North American squads. Closing in on about 40 seconds to go. Doesn't exactly seem like there has been much progress. There is still an OGF member on the British side, so Dawn squad is missing 4 members from a full team. And the more that the timer continues to tick down, I think we'll be seeing a server reset here.
It definitely looks like we're probably going to be switching to a server reset. I'm just going to get a confirmation on that in the near future.
Relentless in the chat says OGF was a strong team on Battlefield 4 but are a hardcore team for Battlefield 1. And he says of the Dawn squad, they are a strong team from what he's heard of and very well organized. So we've got a couple of Dawn fans, we've got a couple of OGF fans in the chat. Hope you all are excited to see your teams go at it. I know I'm excited. Always excited to see some competitive Battlefield. We'll be getting word on the match right now. Seems to be heading more and more towards the server reset.
Yeah, I'm in communication right now. At least both teams haven't spawned in yet, so they have good communication in that regard. I'm just going to be working on the back end here, trying to figure out if we're going to be doing a server reset and the actual start time I'm going to be using.
What do you think the odds are that these teams find a mutual ground to play a certain amount of players, say 13v13 or 12v12?
One moment. Sorry, I'm in the process of trying to figure out when we're going to be restarting and the new start time. Alright, it does look like we are going to be having a server reset. Both teams are having trouble with members showing offline and their party chats are not working.
So that might lead more to the case of both teams playing shorthanded, maybe 12v12, maybe 14v14, if there are enough people there. Dawn guys spawning in out of frustration here. Looks like apparently. hmm And plus, I know for myself personally, I warm up about an hour before I play any competitive match. So you also run the risk of, sitting in the lobby and getting cold, so to speak. Got to stay active and warm up those fingers for uh, the potential gunfights that you're going to be getting into. Do a little catalyst trivia of the day. Do a little drill inside an empty server. A bunch of sliding and trigger aiming gets me warmed up a little bit. OGF Soldier Addy says you should begin the match. It's time. We know it's time, but the teams are having trouble getting into, or at least the Dawn squad, rather, is having trouble getting their players into party chats and into the game here. So another potential option is that they join without a server. Or, excuse me, they are playing without a party chat.
Alright, so the server just reset, so we're going to be shuffling, making sure the teams are set, and then we will be starting, as soon as the teams have everyone on the correct team, we're going to be starting, and at this point we're going to be playing regardless of how many people a team is short.
Which is very unfortunate, because sometimes one player makes the difference, especially if that player is a medic, being able to pick up certain players at certain key times. If you don't have that medic in a room with you, you're down that player. It can make a difference. I know sometimes that the perception is if it's a 15v16, it's like, oh, it's only one player, it's not going to make much of a difference. But if that person is a vital part of the team's game plan, it does definitely make a difference. So we're going to try to get everybody in here. Hopefully we get a full 16v16 match, but if not, we'll do our best, and keep in mind that the teams are short-handed as well.
All right. So the team should be balanced relatively quickly.
It seems that Dawn has about 14 players on their team now, and I believe that OGF does have all 16. So this is a little bit better than a 16v12, but still missing players. We hope that Dawn gets the rest of their team right together. Looks like they're up to 15 now as well. So we're only missing one person. Hope he loads in very shortly so we can begin this match, which I am really, really excited for. I just sound super tired because I haven't had any coffee today. Hobo Fraggin says, what are the maps for this match? I don't know. Fiji, do you know the map rotation for this match?
I can take a look. I'm not entirely sure.
Racer says Amiens, Suez, and Argonne Forest.
Yes, we have Amiens, Argonne Forest, and Suez today lined up.
Okay. 3 very good maps. 3 maps that a lot of these teams are very experienced with. So it's going to be a very hard-fought battle. Amiens was one of the first maps, I believe, to have Frontlines in it, so therefore it is one of the more experienced maps for all these teams. As opposed to something like a Cyanide Desert or a Sir Quentin Scar that just got into the game, where teams might not be as equally experienced with one another. So at the very least, we get some good experienced matches here with maps and teams that have played each other quite a bit.
Alrighty, it does look like we are going to be starting at the 35-minute mark, just so they can. We do have a delay when we're spectating. It's like around 30 to 45 seconds between what the players are seeing and what we're seeing. So that'll be a good start time for everyone to make sure everyone's set. It is interesting to see right now. We currently have 4 squads of 4 on one team, and we do have 4 squads of 4 on the British Empire. They were doing 5 squads of 5 at one point, which I thought was kind of odd.
So it looks like Dawn actually did just get its final member, so luckily we will be getting a full-fledged Battlefield 16v16 Frontlines experience today. A little over 2 minutes before this match starts, and it could not start any sooner for me because I am itching to get into this game, get some entertainment rolling out. You guys in the chat ready to see this?
I'm definitely ready to see this, especially with all the anticipation with getting the team set. We did have a little bit of a bumpy road trying to get this game going, but I think we're going to be in for a treat, especially with the delay and the anticipation it built up.
So you were talking earlier about the squad setup. Now the Dawn squad is shifting around a little bit. I don't know if they're just shifting member or personnel or if they're shifting for a reason. It looks like they're just shifting personnel around, getting the right people in the right squads.
It does look like
we do have a spawn, and there he goes. Probably getting word that you are about 1 minute and 10 seconds a little bit too early.
And it does look like the Dawn squad is running 2 squads, or we have 1 squad of 5, 2 squads of 4, and 1 of 3, whereas the OGF is running 4 squads of 4. So it's interesting to see why they would do that.
So just based on that information alone, I would assume that Apples is going to be the tanker squad, maybe a repairman for sure, maybe 2. I have seen teams run 2 repairman, and that makes the tank almost virtually unstoppable, but it also takes somebody off the front line, so there is that pro and con. But I would assume that Apples is going to be that tank squad, maybe a medic there as well to res the repairman, but it's definitely going to be interesting to see. 30 seconds away from this match. We are ready to get it on, as Marvin Gaye likes to say.
That we are. I always find it interesting when teams run squads of 5 in competitive games because they don't have the option of doing squad bombs. Although it's nice to have, it is very difficult to pull off correctly because it takes a lot of logistics on the side of the players and the squad leaders.
All right, both teams have spawned in. I'm hopping on with Spaghetti Joe here, running the support class right up through the main building. I don't know if he's cutting across here. I need to get right up here with him.
So it looks like OGF is mainly in the left building here, and the Dawn squad is taking over both of the apartments. Let's zoom in here to get a first-person perspective on Eric.
Spaghetti Joe and his entire Dawn squad, full of support players and 2 medics, just planting themselves in this right corner building over here. And they are just laying down a constant stream of machine gun fire. And the OGF tank is already taking some hits. They do not have a repairman on them, so it's going to be interesting to see if the Dawn squad notices this and capitalizes it already. They got two assaults and a medic running on them already. The Razor is running all the way back behind, and he just got, no, he didn't just get a spawn. He's still right there. He knows where this tank is, hoping to take him out very, very quickly. And now OGF has a couple of repairmen on, and I don't think Razor knows that yet. He's able to take out 1 repairman, get the second as well, and looks like the OGF tank is in trouble here. He's running from an assault. I'm not quite sure how much damage 1 assault is going to be able to do, but he is doing enough to take this tank completely off the point. Very, very aggressive, but very, very smart play from Razor and the Dawn squad so far.
It definitely looks like the Dawn squad has both of the apartment buildings on lockdown. The OFG has, if you look at the kill feed, it is all Dawn squad at this point. And if you take both of the apartment buildings, you set up a light machine gun down the hallway, and they will not be able to get up there and contest you whatsoever.
And that's what we were talking about early, Fiji, about how this C point is so difficult to capture. If that line breaks, you have the teams on the both sides, and it just becomes a game of gun skill, really, seeing who can get into the other team's corner buildings and clear them out first and then hold that objective. And just like the rest of the games in Tier 1, this Tier 1 Frontline season so far, the British team is rolling and moving on quite rapidly.
Alright, so the Dawn Squad, they have a flame tank. You do not see that every day. And they are cutting off all the reinforcements right now of OGF running onto this B objective.
It does look like OGF is on the point for Spaghetti Joe up in the overlook position. Charlie McKay completely pinned down in the ruins. And we got our first tank battle of the game. That's what we said earlier about the tanks getting a little bit more freedom. Alpone and Daz. And Daz is going to go down the tank for OGF. Alpone taking out a huge component of this Dawn push. And I think that's a game changer right there. You take out that tank right away, and OGF has a real good chance of turning this point around and heading back to the center.
We have the Dawn Squad. I'm watching the Razor here, and they're on a flank right now of OGF. And if they successfully pull this off, he manages to kill the entirety of the assault tank. It looks like the OGF was spawning in there, and they're just cleaning them up from the backside.
And that was more, and that was more than just a tank there, Fiji. That was about 4 players in total. So OGF now down to 12 players, and even more less so, as the entire team has been completely rolled over by Dawn right now.
So it'll definitely be very interesting to see if Dawn takes the advantage of wiping the whole team off and setting up proper light machine guns to cut off these reinforcement lines.
And it's also going to be interesting to see where OGF spawns, and they did spawn Church Ruins, so that's probably going to be all she wrote for this point. It's very hard to be pushing from that side if you get Church Ruins spawn. The only chance here is to see if they can make a flank to the push to the right here into the alleyway and overlook position. And it appears like they have settled with the devil and they are giving up this point to Dawn Squad.
Alright, so if Dawn Squad manages to keep OFG in this little church right near the church, it'll definitely be huge because the Dawn Squad will be able to get on the A objective without OGF even coming close to it.
We got Psycho creeping Derez, and Psycho gets 2. I don't think his third one was there. He tries to escape, but Special Lice takes him out. And Dawn Squad, I don't think, knows that OGF is on the point pushing through that blue gate. They're still focused on the majority of the team over by that Church Ruin spawn. And it looks like OGF is going to get the key positioning right now in that main house area. About to see a big gunfight. 3 versus a whole lot more, but here comes reinforcements for Dawn Squad. Gabbermat takes out 1. I don't think he saw Internet Flat there. Sand is taken out, and there's a full entire squad spawning there entirely by blue gates. Razor dropping over some dynamite, or excuse me, that's Tefler. Eric with a few key reses by blue gate, and still OGF has the strong position in the houses here. They just need to get bodies on the point near Fiji, otherwise I think we're going to MCOMs.
It definitely looks like it. The OGF is having a very hard time getting on this objective. They're being funneled into the few entrances that this A objective has. They need to get some flares on there to get their assault players some information, so when they run in they don't get surprised by all the people hiding in these nooks and crannies. And it just looks like the Dawn Squad has a huge advantage here. It'll be interesting to see when the tank respawns what the OGF is going to end up doing, because the Dawn Squad's heavy tank will take a long while to get here.
And that's a good point. The Dawn Squad tank did actually get taken out first, so they will get their tank back before OGF does. And I assume, if I was a betting man, that Dawn Squad is just going to roll that tank right up into that crossroads, put a few shells onto the B objective, and then be able to eliminate any spawn points off the B objective from OGF trying to get to the
And it
the
does
A
look
objective.
like we have both objectives planted right now. The Dawn Squad just beat the OGF to the objectives. They just out-sprinted them. They did not let them get set. They did not let any of their support players get in comfortable positions whatsoever.
And it looks like the B point is completely swarmed with Dawn right now, as well as the A point, and I don't see any way that OFG or OGF, excuse me, right now is going to be able to take these points. Dawn squad is pushing out the spawns and the choke points, and I think this is about to be a wrap for map 1. B objective is destroyed, A probably not far behind it, and just as I say that, Dawn squad takes map 1 and continues the trend of the British Empire side completely dominating this Amiens map.
It looks like every single team that I've seen play on this Amiens map, the British have won pretty single-handedly. It seems to be that that's the side to pick when you're playing on Amiens. So it'll be interesting.
So about to...
You can go ahead.
Go ahead. I was about to say, so we're about to bring up the scores here, and immediately on one side or the other, you just see the amount of deaths that the Dawn squad had on the British Empire side, running a few more medics, I think, than the German Empire side, the OGF side was. And that's what you reflect in these scores right here. You see a lot of double-digit deaths, and that's really the meta game that Dawn squad was able to outclass OGF here in this first match. Also, I think a big factor was Dawn Squad's support players being able to plant themselves in good positions and lay down suppressing fire very early on. We saw that almost immediately with Spaghetti Joe and his squad of support players. So I think next map, Argonne Forest, there is no tank, but I think we're going to continue to see the strong support play from Dawn Squad, just locking down a map in which the choke points are even more vital. It's a close quarters map, and it's about to get messy, I think.
It definitely is, especially with all these close quarters battles. Assault players will definitely have their time to shine and show that their gun skills are pretty hard to match, especially on a map like Amiens. You'll see a lot of Automaticos and Hellregals being able to, if you get behind the enemy team with a Hellregal, you can kill an entire squad single-handedly.
And the teams do appear to be scrambled. I'm not quite sure which team is taking which side yet. That will be figured out momentarily. This is Dawn Squad server, so the leader of Dawn, not quite sure who that is probably going to be shifting players here momentarily. And it definitely won't be another 20-minute delay to get into the match. I think we'll get into this match really rather soon. Relentless in the chat, or excuse me, Lortman in the chat says this Dawn squad is extremely aggressive, and I would have to agree. I think OGF was playing very, very passively that first map, and that really bit them in the behind.
Yes, you can. If you play very aggressive in Frontlines, you can have one player, if he just lays down with a light machine gun, if he just makes the whole other team stop for 5 seconds to kill him, that gets his whole team to be able to get into position at those telegraphs and stop their quick push to just absolutely decimate the team before they can even get set.
And it looks like Dawn Squad is going to be taking the American side of the map, and OGF is going to be taking the German side here, as far as we can tell right now. We don't have an official start time yet, but I think it should be happening within the next 3.5 minutes or so.
Yeah, if I were to take a guess, it'll be at the 35 minutes again, especially with everyone being in the server. The Dawn Squad is missing one player, but there's plenty of time for him to get back into the match. One thing to note is on the German side, if I'm not mistaken, the telegraphs are very difficult to get both of them on, because one is upstairs out in the open and the other one is hidden away, tucked down underneath this bunker. And as everyone's seen playing Frontlines, it turns into a giant grenade spam. So you can just keep throwing incendiary grenades there, and they won't even be able to get into the objective to arm that telegraph.
And I think in order for OGF to get back into this game, they're going to have to separate the conflicting play styles between aggression and passiveness. I think there's a big difference between passiveness and, I guess, I don't know the right word for it, but it's I guess a calculated approach. There's a difference between passiveness and slowly but surely clearing out the enemy, and I think they were kind of blurring that line a little bit, and they need to kind of figure out an identity and where to bomb squad back, or otherwise I think this map is going to go exactly like Amiens just did. But who knows? The tanks bring a lot into play, and we saw a game in which Triple V and Murder Mafia, you were playing in that, Fiji, where we assumed that the Argonne map was going to go quickly, but Murder Mafia put up one heck of a fight and surprised us all, and really played well on this Argonne map. So it's never a sure thing with any of these Tier 1 teams. They are very, very strong, very, very talented. So it makes it very challenging for us as commentators to be able to predict such things, but we will just have to see.
And something to note when I've played on this map and when I've seen this played is the US side has lost every time, similar to with Amiens, and how the British side always wins. So I'll be curious to see if that trend continues and the Germans end up winning on this map as well. Right now,
do we have a start
we are going to be
yet?
starting at the 35-minute mark again. So we have about a minute to go.
Okay, so about... What do you think's going to happen in this match, Fiji? Are we going to see another a repeat of this Amiens map, or is OGF going to surprise us
here? This is definitely going to be a longer match, especially with how big the cap zones are. The cap zones on this map are almost the same size as Amiens, even though this is a close quarters map. So it's very easy to get a lot of bodies on here, and especially on the C objective, you can just hide underneath this bridge, and they can't kill you because they just can't see you hiding.
Yeah, the bridges are very dark and obviously a not very friendly place. From my experience as a player, I'm an assault player. I'm usually the aggressive side, and I tend to stick to the underground bridge, and it is an utter cluster down there, and it's very hard to survive. About 15 seconds out from this point, it's going to be interesting. I can already see from the gameplay that the Don Squad is very, very good with their support players, so it's going to be interesting to see where they set up with their supports to rain down fire and bullets on OGF here. Looks like both teams have spawned. A little bit of an early start there by OGF, but only by a few seconds. Not that much of a big deal. And already the flares going out from the OGF side. I wonder how many snipers they're going to run. It looks like 2 at the moment. 2, and then there's an entire squad of medics and supports going around the right flank here. So I'm going to, excuse me, go all the way over to Telfer. They're about to meet a squad of OGF.
And it does look like the Don Squad's trying to clear out the underneath of the bridge. It is somewhat effective. So something that we'll have to watch out for is as soon as you manage to wipe the other team, you want to push their side of the bridge so they can't sneak under there and kill you.
And it looks like the OGF got some key revives on the right, on the that right flank there. Kirky and Spakalora. Kirky taking out Spack there. Don't think he knows how many other players are there. Gur gets a revive on Spakalora, and now Kirky's going to have to back away. He should be calling out to his teammates right now that there is almost an entire squad of OGF flanking around. Bang Bang spots him, but you can't do anything, and there's Pat the Internet Flat going down as well. Psycho Creep clearing up that push, and looks like Don Squad has, for the most part, repelled any flanking that OGF has tried to do.
The flanks are huge on this map. That's what Frontlines is showcasing in Battlefield, is how flanks, one squad can take out multiple if you get the proper flanks, especially in this frontline game mode where you expect everyone to be coming from one direction.
And it looks like OGF is in some trouble right now. They are backed up to train tracks, and Psycho Creep is just hosing down the remaining members of that squad. And now we are moving on to this very crowded, very claustrophobic, and oftentimes just as hectic D-point. And the key here is the high ground, this big cliff right in the middle of this point here.
It does.
And it looks like Don has already made a job of closing down the OGF spawns.
And I'm currently on We Back, and of the Don Squad, and they're already getting a flank on this OGF team to clear out this objective. So the Don Squad is very much using the map to their advantage and getting these flanks and surprising the OGF in directions that they're not expecting. So the OGF is currently on a giant front line, and I would think they need to spread out a little bit more, start doing different angles to get on this objective.
Well, if they're about to take this objective, it's going to be now. They have at least 2 squads going through the high ground. It's going to be a matter of life or death whether they choose to go through that choke point, and it looks like they do choose to go through there. Calling out to Don, his teammates right now, or their teammates rather, probably called out that they just came through that middle valley push and they're on the bridge. Don recapturing the high ground over the cliff there, so it's just that remaining squad stranded under the bridge, and this should take no time for Don's squad to wrap them up as well.
And it does look like the Don squad managed to stop the push that OGF managed to scrap together at the end there. So we'll have to see how fast OGF gets set on this objective. That was their shortfall in the last map, is not being properly set up when the Don squad was running in.
Now, I think from here on out, Don squad really has a task ahead of them, and it's not. They have taken the first 2 points very quickly, but this last D point and then the MCOMs, extremely difficult to take on the American side because the German Empire side basically has an entire line where supports can bipod and just hose down, and snipers can take pop shots at the enemy crossing those lines. I'm curious to see if they try a train tracks flank. It looks like Naveed the God is behind them already, getting one, getting another. I don't think he knows how many are in the bunker. Alpone trying to find him, trying to peek around the corner. An assault runs past him, and he's about to find him, come right into contact, and when doesn't see them apparently. Eric with the slide trying to get, and opponent's trying to get that revive, and he just beats him down like an old board.
And it definitely looks like the Don squad is clearing out this trench line. It is very important. If they manage to get up near these bunkers, they can set up the light machine guns and just cut down the OGF squad before they can even get on the objective.
And that was textbook, as Capot just completely hoses an entire squad on the side of OGF. But that point is exactly textbook on what what you're trying to do as the United States of America side trying to take this point. You're going to have to go bunker by bunker, and it's very difficult because, as we said, lots of places for support players to come and set up. But you ideally want to go to one squad or one bunker to one bunker and clear everybody out and then establish positioning for yourself. And they did that almost expertly as we're about to move on to the MCOMs here.
It definitely looks like the Don squad is going to take this objective. So again, we're going to have to see how fast does the Don squad get to the telegraphs. Does OGF stack the bottom side B telegraph, or are they going to defend the top mainly first?
I think ideally you kind of want to get there at the same time, and whichever force gets more control, either the 2 squads going to the A side or the 2 squads going to the B side, whichever one you get is the one that you defend, and then you go from there. But it looks like OGF has, well, I take that back. Looks like Don squad has completely eliminated that squad protecting the up part of A, and now it looks like 2 people are on arming the aim bomb for Dom squad.
It definitely looks like OGF is favoring the bottom objective, the B objective, because it is a lot harder to get, but it'll end up turning into a game of attrition if OGF cannot disarm this A telegraph.
I wouldn't be surprised if we actually go back to the D point here. That is how difficult these MCOMs are, especially where there's only 3 entrances to the down bunker, and if you have a full team of 16 down there, it just becomes grenade spam city, and it's hard to get down there. But it looks like Don squad, at the very least, is going to get the A objective, and they are actually getting a plan on the B objective, so whatever was going on down there, I have not been down into that dungeon area, that bunker. But it looks like whatever they did, they got the kills they needed to, and they have the bomb set, and I think this game is about over. Unless OGF can push themselves in there and disarm it.
We're going to get a first-person perspective on Kirky down underneath. And it just looks like they're medic training, and they're all in very good defensive positions. It does not look like OGF is going to be able to get underneath and defuse them. And it does look like the Don squad did take the clean 2-0 in this match.
a very, very impressive performance by Don Squad, to say the least. OGF did have a lot of fight in them, but overall, I think the aggressiveness of Don Squad was a little bit too much for them to handle this time going out. Uh, Not sure if these teams are going to play a third for funsies, but I'd like to see them too, in the spirit of sportsmanship. So expand as this tournament will go forward. Experience on some maps is very, very crucial.
That was a lot closer of a match than the last one, but as you could see, the trend of the Dawn Squad just it seemed like they were going in larger groups, and their communication was much better, and they were just outgunning and outmaneuvering the OGF squads at seemingly every turn this match. So
But one thing is for sure, a definite good game by both teams. It was a very entertaining watch, especially for teams that we are not familiar with. I know there are a lot of fans in the chat, probably some happy Dawn Squad fans right now. But for all the OGF guys out there, you guys put up one heck of a fight, and you should be proud of the display for sure. Going up to the next map, which is Suez, which is my personal favorite Frontlines map. I hope they play this. I really do. I want to see some more. I am not satisfied.
Alright, so I did just get word it looks like they're going to be playing on Suez here. So we're going to be in for a treat. This map is, with how it's set up, there's more flags that they can capture than the initial Amiens map. Or actually, they've all been 5-cap maps. But it's more interesting. This gives the opportunity for their scouts to shine, especially this C objective with this ridge. And it definitely showcases tank gameplay as well.
The reason why Suez, as you're pointing out, is one of my favorite maps is because it takes everything that's great about Battlefield, and it takes everything that's great about the Frontlines moment. It kind of just jam-packs it into one. You have the satisfying scout gameplay. Excuse me. You have tanks are so huge on this map, especially for spawns. Normally, you see teams kind of camp their, or the Ottoman side rather, camp their tank up on this ridge here, right above the sea point, and then you see the British side camp their tanks somewhere on either side of the village here. So you have that sniping gameplay, you have that tank gameplay, and then you also have some very intriguing infantry gameplay over head glitches over the hills, and then the other team in the houses. So it's honestly one of the best Frontlines Battlefield experiences you're going to get on this map, and I'm excited that they are going to stick out the third map and play it for us.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it, and since this will be a for fun practice match, it'll be interesting to see if anyone decides to go on the cavalry, so we'll be able to see some top tier players hopefully messing around on the cavalry and showing what a cavalry can do in the hands of top tier players.
Cavalry is one of those things that you don't. I mean, obviously, it's not in every map that has Frontlines in it. There's obviously none on Amiens. There's none on Aragon. But when you get into these desert maps, and Ballroom Blitz, I think, has horses as well. I know Neville Knights has horses. Might have to check that about Ballroom. But regardless, Cavalry is actually extremely useful, especially when one team is pushing towards the second to last point before MCOMs. If you are sure you're going to get that point, hop on a Cavalry and absolutely jet it to the MCOM, see if you can get there first. It's a very, very useful tool, and it's oftentimes forgotten about because it's thought about tank and infantry only most of the time.
And cavalry is very strong. I think you get 2 or 3 horses on each side on this map, so if you get them to run in a little pack, they can practically take down a heavy tank by their own in one pass. So people definitely don't pay as much attention to cavalry because of how squishy they are since the nerf to the cavalry off the horse, but they definitely have a huge potential in harassing tanks and taking them out of the fight.
Yeah, harassment is the key word there, and you can't. And on a personal note, I am so happy that they did that nerf to cavalry because that was the bane of my existence. Having cavalry men fly past me, and I would be this close to killing them, just to have them hop off the horse and get a big buff of armor and just poop all over me. But aside from that, cavalry is definitely used mostly as a distraction technique and then also kind of as a speed technique to get the MCOMs, as I said earlier. Are we approaching another 35-minute start,
Yes, it
Fiji,
is
or
going to be
are
a
we looking at something a little bit
35
sooner?
minute start as well this time. But my favorite part about the cavalry in this game is if you get the cavalry lance and you impale someone, that is probably the coolest kill animation in the game and probably the coolest way to die in this game because it just looks really, really cool.
I would have to agree with that. I can't think of anything else besides maybe one of the melee animations, maybe with like the sawtooth knife, or I have not seen anybody be exploded by their own dud club yet, but I'm sure that's pretty exciting as well. Um, but the Cavalry Lance is definitely a great part of the game. It was one of my favorite additions as part of the. It wasn't that They Shall Not Pass. It's in the Name of the Czars
Yes.
DLC.
It takes a little bit of getting used to, but you get a little bit more range, but you can't swing as fast, so it's a double-edged sword in that regard. So it's a little bit easier to use. You just can't kill as many people quickly.
So it appears that OGF is going to be on the British Empire side, and it appears that Dawn Squad is going to be on the Ottoman Empire side. And I'm not quite. I was not able to get into the Suez match that you were casting yesterday, Fiji. But how did that match go? Was there any certain side that seemed to dominate one another?
The match I cast on Suez yesterday, it was very back and forth. It pretty much went all the way to the British side and then all the way back to the Ottoman side. And the Ottomans ended up winning, but it was very back and forth. It was a very even map. It actually went to the completion of the game time.
Wow, that's incredible. And I think one of the things that we're seeing already off the rip here is that OGF is running only one scout, and Dawn Squad, as far as I can tell, is running 3 or 4. I'm going to say 3 now. So there's already that multiplication of spotting flares, and you know that Dawn Squad knows exactly where these OGF guys are in comparison to the OGF guys, and their scout got killed almost immediately, so they have no spotting flares out in the field, and they, apart from the people that are directly in the face, really have no idea where Dawn Squad is right now.
So something that the Dawn Squad needs to get out of the habit of, at least on this map, is the ridgeline near C. If you are on the Ottoman side of it, you are not actually in the cap zone. So although it gives you great cover for the map, you're not actually in the cap zone.
Yeah, which is weird because this house over here, which I've called Little House, I'm not quite sure what your call out for it is, and this is probably the most integral part of this point. Whoever holds Little House has such a great advantage over this entire point because that cap zone does extend over to this place over here. It's, oh my goodness, things go boom. I don't know if that was Charlie or somebody on Dawn Squad, but Charlie's over there trying to get some kills on that Little House squad, and he is not being very effective. But it does look like OGF is pushing Dawn Squad off this point, and I think that's what you were saying earlier, Fiji, is that Dawn Squad is staying on those hills outside of the cap zone, and OGF has basically pulled up their pants, tightened their belts, and said, I'm going straight on that point.
And it does look like we do have some cavalry gameplay. The Dawn Squad just ran over 2 people with the horse. But it does look like the Dawn Squad is managing to kill all of the OGF with this nice flank on the hillside of the map. They have a bunch of snipers and light machine guns there because the cap zone for C is pretty large. And a lot of people forget that you can go all the way to the hills on the left and still be in the capture area.
Do you see where any of these tanks are? I don't see any tanks.
I saw the tank. I heard them.
Did they get destroyed
I heard them,
already?
but it seems like both of them got destroyed, so it's going to be mainly infantry gameplay for, I believe the tanks spawn in 3 minutes, so it'll be interesting to...
Which is, yeah, it's very interesting because tanks play such a huge role on this first point, getting spawns in a point that is probably the most open point on this entire map. Getting those tank spawns are very, very important as Dawn Squad is moving on to the B objective here. And you're about to see a lot of close quarter combat coming up, so probably switching to some Automaticos instead of some Hellregals, as Dawn, full squad, is in that building trying to get upstairs to get to that OGF squad. Gabbermat is holding them off. He gets taken out. Headshot comes in and takes out the remaining OGF members in that top objective building. And it looks like OGF was putting up a real good fight to start that point, but I think what did them in, Fiji, is that they were just not able to break Dawn's hold of that little house objective point.
It definitely seems like Dawn is just winning the gunfights in these close quarters engagements, and that in the mix with their flanking that they're doing, like they have people on top of the buildings, like Spaghetti Joe is over here, and he is pretty much flanking the entire of the OFG squad. And it is just...
Musica says, you're lame. Bye. Thanks for the wonderful compliment. I'll see you later, man. Thanks for stopping by.
But it does look like the OFG does have a light tank, and it looks like the cavalry is doing exactly what I said it would do, and they are harassing this light tank and doing exactly that, taking it completely out of the fight.
Wow. That's an interesting move, switching to a light tank instead of a heavy tank. If that was a heavy tank, that horse would have had a much more difficult time, but that move by OGF has basically knocked out their tanks for another 3 minutes. I don't think that tank got anywhere near the point there.
No, he got completely harassed off. They're definitely making use of this cavalry. It drags a ton of people's aim. It distracts them from the infantry that are going to be running in and trying to make maneuvers.
So this A objective is very, very interesting, because if either team gets control of this point, gets into that house, as the Dawn squad has almost set up an entire family in that house from this point of view, whoever really gets this point early on tends to keep it, and there's not much sway back or forth because of the way that the head glitches are, the way that the momentum is on the map. Because the British Empire side, if Dawn Squad has control of the point, they're going to spawn out in the dunes, and there's little to no cover.
And it definitely looks like the OGF squad is not getting set on the objective before the Dawn Squad can run in and disrupt all their players. So it just looks like the OGF squad is always on their back foot when getting on these objectives, and they're never set for the team to run in. So they're never in a good defensive position to defend.
So now that Dawn has control of this point, look for their snipers and their medics to use their longer range rifles to start picking off OGF from the dunes before they get anywhere close to the point. There is a horse in the play, but he gets off the cavalry and he's trying to shoot the sniper, which he was completely oblivious to his presence, but he just got majorly bailed out by one of his teammates. Bang Bang should be buying dinner for one of his teammates tonight.
And we'll see how this cavalry impacts the Dawn Squad to getting on this objective, because they already have one player right on the A objective, and it does look like he gets cleaned up. But the Dawn Squad is using a flame tank again, which you do not see every day, and I think they actually got it stuck.
Well, I was going to commend Daz for going straight up on the objective and clearing it out, but now I have to kind of scratch my head and say, what are you doing, man? A little bit too hard of a push there, and I don't think it's going to make too much of a difference, but that flame take would have done great work on the B objective as well as it did on the A. But he actually got it unstuck, so now I have to take back that statement. He did a fantastic job of basically pulling a Fast and Furious on the OGF squad here, and just going straight down the dunes and pushing the objective.
And it does look like the OGF squad did pick a light tank again, and it does look like it is out of commission. So I would definitely say I would not recommend picking a light tank for the Frontlines game mode, because you just have 3 assault players shoot AT rockets at you and you are done.
Were you able to spot if there was any repairman on the light tank, or was he just soloing
I
it?
would assume he was just soloing it, and even if they did have a repairman, the amount of health a light tank has, you can have one cavalryman run in and practically disable the light tank single-handedly.
Because I don't really think that the light tank is that bad of a choice as long as you're able to protect it. The howitzer tank can actually do quite a bit of damage as Dawn Squad takes the 3-0 sweep here. The light tank can do actually quite a bit of damage to the heavy tank as long as you keep it alive with that health, as you mentioned, is something to keep in mind. And if you have no repairman, it's only as simple as getting a cavalryman out there and taking it out and harassing it, and that's just a cavalryman who has light anti-tank grenades. Imagine if a full squad of supports decided to go and take it out. But that should conclude the match. I don't think there's anything else to do here. GG's to both teams. A very, very interesting match over the pond there, and I believe in the UK, or at least in Europe somewhat. Is there anything else that we have here?
I think that is it. So, thank you guys for watching. I have Catalyst here with me, and I am Mini Fiji. So, thank you guys for watching. I'll give you a nice flashy outro, and we will catch you guys next time.
Thank you all.